Right, over the ditch. We are back for another week, and we are live on Facebook and YouTube. You can follow us on either of those and get your comments in. If you know how Campbell's comments work, you'll be able to get them. Matt Markham, welcome back, mate.
G'day, mate. Nice to see you back on the other side of the Tasman, healthy and having survived a cup week over here in Canterbury.
It's a big week. I will be very, very honest with that. I did sleep extremely well. Must have been Sunday night because got on the red eye and all the rest. It is a massive week, isn't it? Even if you do have a good night's sleep, there's so much going on. It's so hard to keep up with everything happening.
Yeah, it's pretty bang, 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 and like there's something on almost every day from the first Saturday right through. You get to the breeders' function that the NZ Standardbreds Association hold on the Monday night, and then into Cup Day, and then Riccarton, then Ashburton, then the Dogs, then back to Addington, then back to Riccarton, and it's time to go home again. So, yeah, it does. It's a busy week for everyone who's involved, right through from the clubs right through to our good fine horse people that are putting on the product for us. So it's been another very successful edition of what I think is one of the greatest weeks of racing in Australasia, and already the countdown's on to next year.
No, it is indeed. Unfortunately, I've done something a little bit wrong, but that's okay. I was going to hopefully get the chats up. I might be able to do it. I might wrinkle it around in a second and I'll get myself going. You said there about the Breeders' Day. It is ridiculous where it starts and how much fun it is, and they are fun events, a lot of these ones to go to and be a part of.
They are. I've attended a lot of those over the years through previous roles, whether it be at Harness Racing New Zealand or the Christchurch Press, and it's nice to see the breeders acknowledged and get their moment too, because they are such a big part of the whole picture, I guess, and it rolls right through there. There are so many social occasions as part of the week as well, whether it's just sitting around having a beer after the last, or pressing on and heading into town or something along those lines. But it just adds another part to the week, and everyone seems to really enjoy it.
Yeah, they do, and I know a lot of the Aussies were there. The guys from Carlton, they made their way to up to I'm in trouble. Beautiful town. Where was I? Where would you go live?
Hamner, Ashburton.
Ashburton. Sorry, we didn't go live. We did a recording at Ashburton, and brilliant place to go and visit. And they were saying, this is amazing. There's so many things you can. They wanted to experience the whole thing, and they just absolutely loved it. And those things like that breeders' night is something very different. It's held in a BMW of all places. Complex, but it's very, very well done, and celebrate everyone. There's actually a cocktail party on the day before that as well, so there's definitely plenty happening.
Yeah, there is, and they do try and make it a week-long event where there is something happening every day for you to, sink your teeth into. And obviously being in Christchurch, it's also Christchurch Show Week, so from Wednesday through to Saturday, there is the agricultural and pastoral show pretty much 2 minutes down the road from Addington. So it is a big week for the region, and we've enjoyed another one. The weather was pretty good right throughout. I know Friday got a little bit cold, but we've been very lucky in that sense as well.
Don't know what you call a little bit cold. That was freezing. But you weren't there, so that was the one thing. Tyler Jew's watching. Hello to you, Tyler. And we've got a few other people watching as well. And I've been able to get that chat up over the top of us. So if you've got any questions or anything you want to make sure you get out there, Darren Clayton from Queensland, he's watching. He's probably sitting back watching his Queensland racing. He'll be sweating. Don't worry about that. I've got no doubt he'll be sweating. So yeah, right. Let's go back. We'll go back to the Friday. You said that it wasn't got a wee bit chilly. The definition of chilly in you Kiwis is very loose. I will say that at all. But a big day of racing, and it is a little bit of a hidden gem. It's more for the racing purist in a way that day. It's a lot easier to get around, Matty. It's a lot more of a social day, I suppose.
Yeah, you're not bumping into a drunk 20-year-old something who's stumbling around on her high heels like you are on Tuesday every 5 metres, particularly on a day like that when it was cold and everyone was sort of indoors. But it is a day for me to the racing purist, because it is so much about the racing, whereas Tuesday's about so much more. Yeah. And the quality of racing that we saw again backed up what followed on from Tuesday. So it was another, part of this successful Cup Week brand.
It's an interesting carnival that way. So, probably 30% of horses that go around on the Tuesday front up again on the Friday, but then there's other horses that are kept purely for the Friday, because people, I suppose, pick their mark a little bit, if you like. And you sort of saw that a few with some of the trainers that were winning early on, especially on the Friday.
Yeah, and it's a bit of a pick your battles kind of thing, because the racing is generally pretty intense on Tuesday and again on Friday. So there are those horses that can't go on and do it on both days. Not like the gallopers. Of course, we saw a horse win on all 3 days at Riccarton this year, which
what
is
an effort.
remarkable. But
yeah,
fantastic.
and
Johnny Wheeler, he certainly knows how to.
Had a harness connection.
Yeah, there's plenty of harness boys around that, so very nice to see. But yeah, the form generally does carry through with those horses that are backed up. You're looking for your unlucky runners on Tuesday when you go to Friday. Triple G was one of those. He was a little bit unlucky on Tuesday, and once he got clear here on Friday, he was always going to be hard to beat. Those sort of things. So yeah, you can follow the form, but you do get those fresh legs in, and that's maybe generally because of the program. You bring in the south of the Waitaki race for the Otago Southland horses. You've got a special mares race, the 2-year-old fillies, and then of course the Dominion and the free for all. So yeah, it's a good day's racing. I really enjoy it.
We'll highlight a few of those. Mr. Love in the first was a promising start for Greg and Nina and Ben Hope. Unfortunately, it didn't end up that way, but I would say they still had a pretty good carnival, especially when we get onto the Dominion in a minute. But started off with he looks a progressive trotter. Looks like they trotted it in 12 months' time. Maybe able to be probably racing in a bit better racing.
Oh, he's very untapped. What's he had? About 9 starts. He's beaten some fairly good animals in that race, and he's done it very easy. Araha Kenny is a 3-year-old filly of Phil Williamson's, who I have a lot of time for, and he's done it comfortably, getting past her. So, look, as he gains an experience and learns to be a bit more of a racehorse, I think they're going to have a lot of fun with him. And I know Ben feels the same. He made the comment that perhaps in 12 months' time we might see him chasing a race like the Dominion Handicap. That's the feel he gives them. So exciting to see them with another promising up-and-coming trotter.
Yeah, absolutely. The south of the Waitaki was taken out by the GOAT, Nathan Williamson, although he had to sit into second space in the driver's seat, I suppose. But Mark Harrell got it, a Williamson trifecta as well. So, of course, their dominance there. But great to see so many of them from down south making their trip up there. And keenly contested race too. It was on for young and old from the start.
Oh, it's always a good race, and always very competitive. Put a bit of money up and they all come in their droves and try to win it. But yeah, very good training effort from Nathan. He brought Mr. Cashman, the winner, out of Canterbury, would have been 18 months or so ago, off Ange Mugford, who trained it in Leaston. So he's a nice horse. He got his opportunity and he took it. And I thought the run of Rise Up and Dance, who was one who did back up from Tuesday, was very good as well.
He's tough, took out the third, which... Brad Mowbray, Blair Orange. Didn't Blair Orange have a carnival? Didn't interview him. He's not the keenest on interviews, so I sort of saved me powder, I suppose, with him. You don't put the camera in front of him too many times, but he had a massive carnival, of course, the country's leading driver. But Brad Mowbray, and I know there was a couple of sneaky little wagers on this horse. One owner had a fairly happy sort of collect. I won't say the official figure, but it was sizable.
Oh, if I know Ray Reiki, it will have been sizable too, because he doesn't mind a punt in his horses. And I have seen him and lined up behind him after one of his horses had won on show day before at the bar around the corner at the Avonhead. And yeah, it was pretty big that day. So I've got a fair idea what it might have been this year. But he's a nice horse. He's tough. He hasn't had a lot of luck. Just Blair at his best, sums up a situation beautifully. And I think we probably underestimate the week Blair had, given the start that he had to the week, Paul, and the fact that there was a question mark over whether he's even going to drive for a while.
Yep.
With some back issues. Took a little bit of an unconventional approach on Cup Day morning. He ducked his way over to Crusaders camp here in Christchurch for the Super Rugby team and met with their doctor and physio and got strapped up for the day, so that he was able to drive. So, he's probably got a few boxes of beer to drop off at Rugby Park in Christchurch, I'd imagine, because he obviously got 3 winners on Tuesday and then backed that up again on Friday with more. So, just Blair. That's just Blair. Goes out, gives his horse every chance and delivers,
Yep, absolutely. Prince Teki. I've got a funny feeling this horse might be for sale, because I did a show last night and his name was dropped there. For a good horse for the Aussies was what was mentioned, so it's generally one of those signs. But Kyle Cameron, got to meet him. Lovely bloke. Only has a small team, one of those silent achievers, if you like, behind the industry.
Yeah, and what a fantastic horse this guy's been. Generally, a beautiful stand-start exponent, but we've seen him work across from 7 on the mobile here, and so he had now 153 starts. He's won 13 and placed on 39 occasions for 170,000. That's a big moment for his trainer, Jared McRae. That would be one of his biggest winners, if not his biggest winner. Tough, dour old, bit of the old school trotting kind of setup, gets out in front and keeps rolling and runs even quarters, and he deserved that win too, because he set up a pretty good tempo and he ran them off their feet. Good run from obviously She's Bella into second. I thought she was excellent. So very nice to see, one of the feel-good moments of Cup Week for me.
She's Bella. She'll be featuring in a bit of the promotions going forward too, because she'll be racing Grand Prix week as well, getting ready for some good races, and we will elaborate on that. Darren Clayton, I will get to your message. We will just get through these fields here, because Darren's is a little bit left of field, and while we're still going on through the fields, we'll keep doing that. But we walk by faith, a horse that did back up. One of the two. You'd probably had the softer run of all of the Purdon runs on the Tuesday, and Mark was pretty confident. Beautiful drive, got him in the right spot, and he was able to get the chockies. I actually had tea with the Dunfords the night before, or 2 nights before, so they'll be pretty happy. And I know the Judds here in Australia, he's an Australian bred horse that's made his way back to New Zealand, which is always a great thing for this international rivalry we're trying to build.
Yeah, correct. And, after his run in the size stakes final on Tuesday, he was always going to be pretty hard to beat as long as he backed up, and he did that. And it was a nice drive by Mark to get the job done. Finetti, probably 2 of the biggest runs on Cup Week without actually winning a race. Did it tough both days and just went down. So good performance from it. But, yeah, that horse is just going to keep getting better and better and better. We walk by faith.
Yep, absolutely. The Galway girl, I don't know what you thought. Tuesday, she probably wasn't going to beat Love in the Port on that occasion, but she flicked into a pace when she was definitely going to figure in the finish. Craig drove the other day. I think he decided he just wanted to be on the fence, and then once he got the fence, he just dictated the race. It was a real confident drive after a horse that, for no reason, flicked her into a pace the night before, the start before.
Yeah, she can do that. She's done that a few times in her career. There's no doubting she's got a wicked turn of foot. And it was a good confident drive from Craig. He sort of took bad luck out of the equation, and probably most importantly got her into a rhythm where he didn't have to ask her to come off the back of one and sprint, which is generally when things start to go wrong for her, when she really tries to quicken up. She's good enough to be an open class trotter, I think, with the speed she's got. But she has got those wee issues. Big run from the second horse because it's at a gallop early Euro style. Derek and Adele Jones have got a very, very good horse on their hands there, and Miss Alyssa continued her great Cup Week association. But yeah, hard to say anything against the winner, because she was very, very good.
Confessional, he didn't have a real good Cup campaign.
No, he didn't. For all the expectation, I think they'll be pretty disappointed with that. But knowing Paul, we'll probably see him on the West Coast at Christmas time, and he'll win 3 in a row over there, and because he's a good horse, but bit of work to do there for the master to get him back on track.
I think they thought on Tuesday he may have looked at the TV screen on the infield. They think that he may have just popped and saw himself, and ended up being a good result for Paul, because he came out and won that race as well. But I think they were the favourite. They would have been hoping for that horse. Right, first of our replays to be shown here. This is the Dunstan Horse Feed Sire Stakes Series Final. 2-year-old fillies. A lot of talk around a couple of the high-price favourite, or not high-price horses, high-profile horses, the Stephen Reid Coastal Babe, but our Shangri Lana, there was a lot of confidence in the market for this horse to turn the tables, and was driven accordingly.
Yeah, it was. It was a very confident drive from Cam. I sort of met that race having her trailing the favourite Coastal Babe throughout, and I thought she was a great top 3 chance on that alone. I probably didn't expect to see her lead throughout and hold them off in the manner which she did, but it's just a continuation of this Cam Hart, everything he touches turns to gold at the moment kind of situation, and great catch drive for him. Of course, he drove a More Vita for Steve Dolan, who owns in the ownership of her and trains this filly over in Australia, won a couple of races on her, so there is an association there. And yeah, she was travelling a long way from home here and beat some very, very nice fillies in the process. Yeah,
I obviously fast forwarded that a little bit because it was a little bit of a boring race. I spoke to Steve, and he said that basically he didn't give Cam too many instructions, but he was rapt to see him in front and dictating it, and confident here. I just kept asking the filly to keep improving, even though, like I said, he had his main danger on his back. He was very confident. Obviously, gave a good feel, and he was pretty pumped, I believe, Cam, after the drive. The feedback back to Steve was pretty positive.
Yeah, and she's a filly that's probably still 6 months away from being anywhere near her best. I think, or we talked about it last week at Ashburton when we did the show, Paul, and one thing that I think makes Cam such a good driver is he manages to get these horses to run long, sustained periods of a race at high cruising speed and be able to maintain that for a long way, which is something that we saw quite a lot with Dexter when Dexter was in his most dominant phases over here in New Zealand. And Cam's got that ability too, and I guess it comes from racing around Menangle and that, where you really run down the end of the back straight there and into that bend and get them to hold that momentum until they straighten and go again. And that was kind of what he did there. He sort of got to the end of the back straight and really tried to make those ones around and work that bit more hard around that last bend, and just give him the ability to kick clear and get that winning margin on the rest of the field. So exceptional driver, Cam. And I think a lot of Kiwis have come to realise that now, instead of just being casual observers from here watching on the TV screen, to see him in action up close and personal and the way that horses respond for him. I think, a lot of people have switched on to what you guys have known for so very long.
Stand-up good bloke too. And I think that's the other part a lot of people got to realise. Go and meet him and he shakes his hands and he talks. He's a country guy. He's related to a lot of you Kiwis, albeit you might be fostered, but even yourself, you're sort of related. You can claim some sort of relation if you really want to stretch the bow a bit. So, but he is just a great person just to talk to, and understands the industry too. He gets it. I asked for an interview. He just goes, yep, and just talks openly and candidly and tells you what he thinks, and he's terrific. I think he's great.
Oh, and you're right. I think it all starts, the family. It's such a good family across the board. They are like that. They're the people that stand up when you walk into a room and shake your hand, and they're genuinely interested in what you're up to and what your family's up to, and that's carried through into Cam. Yep. You can see that, and I know he went and spent some time with my sister and his cousin David, and met wee Lockie, my nephew, who was born a couple of months ago for the first time. So that was special for them to be able to share in Cam's success during the week, and for him to be able to meet and spend a bit of time with Lockie was pretty cool too. So I know they really enjoyed that as part of what was a massive week. It's
funny thing is one of the most viewed photos I had, and it's purely off the weight of numbers of the whites. We'll go with the Markhams, the Hearts. There's so many of them. In one photo, I tell you, I got him and David standing there reading a form, and I didn't actually realise what I took. I just thought I'll put it up and all the rest, and then I realised, they're actually related, and because everyone jumped on it then, and the way it went. So it was really, really cool. Race number 8 is the next one. The Bob McArdle Sire Stakes Southern Cross for the mares. Very, very popular win. We can say over the ditch's own Johnny Turner in the ownership, but a huge group of guys in the ownership of Manhattan, and Bob Butt managing to get the job done. Drew outside the front with this drone footage that we won't worry about elaborating on because I'll get into trouble, but drew outside the front, but very confidently driven by Bobby, and once found the top, was always going to be hard to beat.
Yeah, it was. It looked a race on paper that was ready made for her, even though she'd drawn the outside of the front line. And Bob probably didn't have the greatest week that he'd hoped for probably at the start of it. But, this would have gone a long way to, righting the wrongs of what happened at other points during the week. But, gee, she's been a fantastic mare. What she had, 49 starts, 10 wins, and she's won 230,000. Of course, she's raced on your side of the Tasman Sea as well, and had did she have a little bit of success over there? No, I don't think she did.
No.
She had 3 or 4 placings, I think, when she came over. But, her future as a broodmare is now stamped solid with this win, and she deserves some black type success and, more black type success. And I don't think she's finished yet, She's such a good front running mare. That would be no surprise to see her winning, with what have we got coming up? The Queen of Hearts at Auckland. She races well at Auckland, so there's a few ticks there. But, she was excellent on Friday, and very good to see Johnny in the winner's circle, celebrating a win instead of being there to capture someone else's success.
Paul Hales, there was a good group of guys. They were all pretty upbeat and happy. It's sort of a measure of a person. When you watch that, like you and I are a bit critical, I suppose, of the drone footage, but that just about typifies the sort of person Bob is. He hasn't been having a great week. He never hesitated once going forward, and you can appreciate how wide he is and still working forward with that drone footage. And he just drove this mare very, very confidently and comfortably, and I think it's a good sign because he did have an average. I think this was his only winner for the 2 days. I might be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it was his only winner, and yeah, he would have been scratching his head on a couple of the other drives that he had, but yeah, he never hesitated here, and she kicked very, very strongly. Dance Till Dawn was good. Life's a Beach was okay as well, but she was just outstanding, this mare.
Yeah, she was, and that's Bob. You talk about laid-back drivers. Well, if Bob was any more laid-back, he'd be horizontal. Nothing much phases Bobby B, but he is building a very, very good team of horses around him. He's driving better than I think I've ever seen him driving in his career. And, I've watched him sort of grow up a little bit with Bob, watching him from a young age. And, yeah, he's in for a big few years. And, he's the next generation of horseman that's going to come onto the scene, and in 10 years' time be probably one of our leading trainers, I think.
Yeah, I just saw then that she actually dropped the luggan pole too. If you just watch here, just as she's coming back, you see the luggan pole just bouncing on the inside. So I don't know when that come adrift, but anyway, she's gone very, very good. So yeah, I just happened to spot that as it was easing down. We've got Benny Hope watching. We've got a few others that's going along. We have Ben watching. We're going to be talking about the Dominion, and I'll play the video first. Is probably the best way to do it. This is a time-honoured race, $315,000 in stakes. I don't think that got sung enough about how, what sort of a race this race is and what it means to so many Kiwis. And I sort of hope the Australians look at a race like this and really understand it, because it is a time-honoured race. Every Kiwi wants to win it, and we probably need to try and treat it like the Trotting Cup, albeit for the Pacers, where we can get a couple of Australian horses coming across for some terrific prize money and some serious, serious competition.
Well, the opportunity's there. It's always there for anyone to come and take part in it. And it is one of the great races of Cup Week, and one of our great straight trotting races on the calendar, alongside the Road Cup, obviously, at Auckland. And always is a fascinating race to watch. There's always something happening, and unfortunately, we're going to see the bad part of the race coming up in a few. There might be another lap, but it's always entertaining.
I think it's actually shortly it starts to happen. So yeah.
So.
No, you're right.
No,
sorry, there is another lap. I will fast forward. I'll fast forward that little bit for us. So yeah.
But yeah, it's always a great trotting spectacle, and we've got a 15-horse field here, which is fantastic for a standing start race. As you sort of start to see some of these horses moving and looking to get around them. I think that's out of the way going around in front of them there. I just can't quite pick up those colours. And then you've got Mark Purdon and Oscar Bonavina on its back, and Harold Smith's following it forward, and then of course Muscle Mountain. And having had a place bet on Harold Smith at this point, I was quite happy because I thought he'd probably end up in the 1-1. But it was about here that I sort of started looking at it and going, something's not quite right with Muscle Mountain. He couldn't hold the back of Harold Smith, which he'd do 99 times out of 100. If not 100 times out of 100. So you could sort of tell that something wasn't quite right here. And then you see Ben reach for some gear and there's just no response. And it's the sort of stuff you don't want to see, especially with such a dominant favourite. But in a big race, and a race that he deserved to win after being so Herculean last year, and to see him eased out of the race, very, very concerning. But obviously the reports we got post-race were a little bit more encouraging, but it just changed the whole complexity of this race from here on.
It do. You got to say hats off to Ben, and not because he's watching. I said it last night as well. He tried everything to pick him up. Once he realised there was something wrong, then he stopped. He never hit him with the whip. But I mean, from a punter's point of view, when you're on odds-on favourite, if you see someone just grab hold and pull out, you get angry. No one could be angry at that. He sort of tried, then he realised there was something wrong, and he grabbed hold, and I think it was terrific. That move just there for Smoke and Bander, unfortunately, with Greg and Nina's other horse, Eurocash, jumping off stride, gave Smoke and Bander a great chance into the race, and he gave great sight. But I'll throw back to you. But it was a terrific race, this part, but I do think well done to Benny Hope.
Oh, absolutely. Horse welfare always comes first. I was part of a punters club last week that had a $30,000 multi starting on Muscle Mountain, and I was more concerned for the horse than anything else. It wasn't the losing bet. It wasn't anything apart to do with that. It was just the horse's welfare, because he is such a great horse, and followed him right throughout. But it did change the whole complexity once Mark got that beautiful 1-1 trip with Oscar Bonavina. he was always going to be very, very hard to beat with his high speed. Bolt for Brilliance, probably just a little bit disappointing, I think, for me. I know he's won at Addington before, but I'm starting to wonder if he's not an Addington horse. Smoke and Bandar, very, very good coming from back in the field. Also, Resolve, super performance from her, super training effort from Paul Nairn, and a good run from Time Up the Hill too. Coming from back in the pack. Sarah Riley might not have grabbed one of the two big ones on Cup Week, but she certainly gave both her drives a big chance, both of them with America Me on Tuesday and Time Up the Hill. But he's been a great horse, Oscar Bonavina. I know he's had a lot of problems, and the career probably hasn't quite reached the heights that they expected it to, but nice to see him back winning one of our big trotting races. And I know it meant a lot to Mark too, because his dad, Roy, obviously owned in the ownership of this horse up until he passed away, and Mark took over that share along with Chris Ryder, of course, the American trainer. And he was touted as being the next big thing there for quite a while, Oscar Bonavina, and through one reason or another he's not quite got there, but that just gives a glimpse into the opinions that were held on him early on in his career.
He is an interesting horse though, Matty, because he's now won $605,000 in stakes. That's a good horse's record, you know what I mean? Like, people sort of undersell this horse. The part that I find the interesting part, like All Star Stable have a plethora of horses coming through their gate, high price horses and good horses that come through their gate. Last year he had 13 starts and only the one win and only $9,000 in stakes. They knew there was something there. They just had to get it right, and they've been able to bring him back this season. He's won 4 now from 12, but $217,000 in stakes, and they're working him out. I did an interview with Nathan afterwards, and Nathan said to me that effectively when the horse works good, his last workout, he goes good. So I think there's going to be a lot of people going out to All Stars when he's featuring in a big race, finding out when he's going around in those races and go out and watch it. But at least the stable are getting an understanding of him. But I don't mean that in a disconcerting way. But just when he has, like I said, 13 starts and 1 win, you would have thought they might have been scratching their head. Stuck with him, and he's a great story.
He is, and there's another aspect to his success that needs probably mentioned too, and that's Olivia Thornley, who's done the majority of the driving of him this season and done a super job with him. Helped get his confidence back on the track. I know things didn't quite go right at Kaikoura, but Mark's obviously jumped on the bike last Friday on a horse that was trotting confident and feeling good, and Olivia's played a big part in that. So full credit to her as well.
No, absolutely, and a really great race to watch and witness again each year. As I said, unfortunately for Muscle Mountain, now he is, I think, about 95-96% recovered. I think the heart rate's back, and they'll just give him a quiet bit of time. Talking to Ben last night, so which is always good. Triple G, the Duns had a bit of a mixed carnival, if you like, but Triple G beating Charlie Brown in race 10 was a good result. He was very dominant in winning. It was a bit of a drop back in class for him, but good to see him back in the winner's circle, because he is a horse with a lot of ability, just possibly a little bit of a checkered runs at the minute.
Yeah, he was very unlucky on Tuesday on Cup Day, and never really got a gap to have a fair crack at them, and John sort of took bad luck out of the equation here from a tricky barrier draw, and he deserved that win, because we've talked about him pretty much every week for the last 6 weeks, and Harry's sort of on that upward trend and trending towards some winning form, and he's found it. So hopefully that can continue, because there's some pretty big assignments just around the corner for the 3-year-old paces in this country. Yep,
the Grand Prix, and we will be previewing that. We'll probably few people have watched on and getting into it. We might go live in a week or two with this show. We might get Johnny Turner involved as well, I would say, and we'll be able to get a bit of input. People can fire their input in it, which is what Darren Clayton has done. But I did say we're going to finish off with Addington. It wasn't the main race for the day because the Dominion Handicap was, but the Canterbury New Zealand Free for All was an interesting race. Once the barrier draws came out, it was an interesting race. But then we had the scratchings of both Pembroke Playboy, Swayze and Republican Party. It sort of then almost made it look like it was a Cooters race for the losing, Matty.
Well, it did. You've got the runner-up in the New Zealand Cup on Tuesday, who was such a dominant force in that race. Coming into this, drawing one, Mark Purdon, Nathan Purdon, it ticked a lot of boxes for punters, and it probably didn't quite pan out how most people thought it would. He had to do a bit of work out of the gate early, but once he found the front, I thought, this is race over. They won't get past him. But yeah, racing can be a fickle game sometimes, and we saw that in this race here because obviously in, a lap and a bit's time, we see his stablemate Self Assured, who has just dropped back to last in the white cap, storming over the top of them all and getting the win. Now, there's a little mishap at the winning post
Yeah.
with a lap left to run. I understand that he may have tripped on a piece of gear, one of the hobble shorteners or the like that was hanging down, and got a bit of a fright. And to be fair, Mark did a great job to keep him down and pacing because I thought he was all gone. But once he sort of got through that, it was, crisis averted, and you thought he'd just roll on and win it because he hasn't had a lot of pressure to this point. He's got the first, 1,000 odd metres pretty evenly, but that moment's just coming up very shortly here where, just there you could see he almost tripped on that back inside leg. But he got himself back down, and Johnny's put a bit of pressure on them with Smithy's Terror, but he's had it pretty easy, and then the mare starts moving, and Self Assured just sort of tracks them through it. So it was a pretty run-of-the-mill kind of horse race, really.
Yep.
But the result certainly wasn't anywhere near run-of-the-mill.
No, it wasn't indeed. I'll get to that last 400. It was interesting. I think one of the barrier attendants or someone saw was in the inside of the track, and because Mark was at a loss to see what had happened until someone came up and said to him, no, you had a hobble short and a cord dangling, and it managed to get wrapped around his leg, and that's what it was. But you can see here, Self Assured out wide. And this is that finish. It was so good to see. Gene Feast was very confident with the horse going into it, but his form hasn't been at the best. It was just great to see him recapturing that old sprint, if you like.
Yeah, it was. He's been a fantastic horse for such a long time. Jimmy, as he's known, named after his strapper James Stevens. And this is a full credit to Mark and Nathan Purdom because after Kaikoura, they made the decision to withdraw him from the New Zealand Trotting Cup. He battles with allergies a lot, and they don't sort of start coming right until we get into November, around that spring growth and things like that. And I know there was a lot of confidence that he'd run a big race, but I think even they were surprised in the manner in which he's run past a horse like Akuta to get the win. But you can easily forget just how good of a horse he has been over his career, and he's won pretty much every major race in New Zealand. And yeah, nice to see Tony Herlihy back winning big Group 1s during Cup Week as well, because he's one of the best of all time, Tony, and he summed up that and knew the horsepower he had in front of him and judged it perfectly.
Yeah, absolutely. The horses all around them there, we saw a close-up of Ben Hope and also Beach Ball. Beach Ball's announced himself. I mean, he is a horse to follow. His run in the New Zealand Cup was outstanding. I think the only thing better than his run was his drive. I reckon Ricky May wound the clock back a little bit. I think it was time to perfection, that 3,200 metre race. But the horse, to be in that finish against those horses 3 days after probably the toughest run he's had, was sensational. Mossdale, Ben, Greg and Nina and Ben have done an awesome job with this horse because, fair to say, he got one of the win in your ends, but it was very early in the season and probably a few horses weren't primed. But he's franked that form all the way through, and again another great run. And Artie's Express was a good run as well, doing a fair bit of work a long way from home. She was good, and to be honest, the other couple of horses out the back weren't disgraceful. I thought He's a Sport was terrific in the New Zealand Cup up until the last 200 metres, and he probably showed that the other day as well.
Yeah, and a lot of those horses from sort of got you covered. He's a Sport. Smithy's Terror is actually jumping on a plane. He's coming over to your part of the world to do his future racing, I understand.
Who if?
I haven't heard, but I would presume that he'll be heading Menangle way to chase the mile racing over there. So he'll be a nice addition to the ranks over there. But the likes have got you covered. He's a Sport. Mossdale, Ben, even they'll drop back to Country Cup racing now.
Yep.
After this, and get on those grass tracks where they're proven and become big players throughout the rest of, the late part of spring and into summer, which will be exciting too. Artie's Express, I presume, will head to the Queen of Hearts at Auckland and then may look to head over to your part of the world for some of those feature mares races early in the new year. But yeah, Beach Ball, he's been probably the find of spring for me. I'm not sure what the plans are with him now, whether he'll ever freshen up and head down to Invercargill, the $100,000 Invercargill Group 1 Invercargill Cup in December, which is going to shape up to be a cracking race again too, because I presume that we'll probably see the likes of Krug head down there to try and defend his title. I know American Me is heading there. He went for a bit of a freshen up after the Cup on Tuesday, so could be a great wee race down at Ascot Park late in December, just before Christmas.
Luke and Belinda, we've been told off the feed. Sean Smith says there, so yeah, he's got that. Michael House is tuned in. This show couldn't get random when House is in, that's for sure. So it'll be fine. He had a good second. Second at
He should be worried about Manawatu kicking off in about half an hour. He's got a team of horses in up there this afternoon.
Yes, it has indeed. But he'd probably around his thoroughbreds. The last race. Yeah.
Hello, everyone out there of Facebook land. Is that how it goes, Michael?
Oh, he's random. I can't remember. He's done the interview, but yeah. Talk about people ducking their heads when they saw the first interview I done was with Michael House. But ratings bonanza he is. Don't you worry about that. And I am going to do one. We're going to do a catch up on Sundon. We did one, but we're going to do it again because he wasn't happy with it. So we've got to go again. So go from there. The last race, the box seat mobile, Ahaka Connor. He's a high-class horse, this horse, and it was good to see him get back into the winning circle, and a very, very good win as well.
It was. He is a very, very, very nice horse, Ahoka Connor. Obviously, was probably a little bit disappointing in face value fresh up when he ran 7th, but he obviously improved a lot off that run, and he's a serious player in the 3-year-old races. I've got no doubt about it. It is brilliant beast.
Sorry, I couldn't believe how big he is. Like, and not just in the girt. Like, he's a monster. He's massive. He could be pushing 600 kilos. Like, he's a very, very big, heavy horse.
Yeah, he looks a future open class horse with his size, and like he's got all the makings of a really nice stayer. I thought the run of their other 3-year-old Ultimedia Stonewalls in the race was very good, and Franco Sinatra, another 3-year-old again, very handy as well. So this crop of 3-year-olds just continue to perform no matter where they line up. Good result for Steve and Amanda Telfer and Steve Stockman, because they obviously hadn't had the best of weeks. Melody Banner galloped in the Group 1 earlier. PD Joe didn't have a lot of luck in the Cup, but they signed off on Cup week with the final winner at Addington. So a sign of things to come in the years to come, I think, for those colours, Paul, because we're going to see a lot more of them out in these big races as time goes on.
We've got Harness Racing Unhinged watching as well. This could go anywhere, this show, if they both tune in, but we'll keep them under control. And Craig Scully, I actually put the Stonewall hat on. I had it ready to go. I did suggest that I may have lost it, so I made sure I kept it going there. Interesting that you said about that horse heading across here. Of course, Head 'em Up is also coming over here. He's going to Queensland, to Sean Gillespie's, I believe. Up there, so that's a good sign for the trotting in Queensland as well. But probably disappointing. He's only had the 2 starts for you guys over there. No, 4 starts. He won 2 of those. Sorry, Head 'em Up. But for Paul Nan, but he's made his way to Queensland, so it's a bit of a golf, if you like, from one of the higher class horses for the 2-year-old trotters. But still very, very good for Australian racing.
Yeah, he's an exceptional talent. Hit him up, and he'll win a lot of races. He's got a lot to learn still, but obviously been given the best possible initial grounding with one of the great trotting trainers of this country and of Australasia, and Paul Nairn. So be interested to follow his career and see what he goes on and does over the next sort of six months to a year.
Thanks, Nigel. I might have to block him. I might have to block Nigel straight away. But thank you very much for the positive feedback from him. Rightio, Darren Clayton asked me one just before, before we get off. I've got too many mice here. Hang on a sec. I've got to go back to it. Just a question, if I may, about a trotter called Show Me the Grey. Has not raced since Cup Day last year and has been trolling okay here in Queensland. Latest on Monday. Do you know much about his background?
Show Me the Grey was trained over here by Coaster Hare, and very consistent performer over here. And I think you're right, did race Cup week before it headed over. Surprised we haven't seen it since then, but actually came out of Coaster's stable and may have done a couple of starts out of the stable of Robbie Close. Hold on, I'm bringing it up as I look. Yeah, last 2 starts. It won first up for Robbie Close, Kaikoura last year, and then run 4th on Cup Day behind Royal Pride in the traditional 2-mile trot. So very talented trotter. Had a lot of natural ability from memory, and if it's over that part of the world, I think it'll end up doing a pretty good job over there, and be one that I'm going to put in my little black book to keep an eye on, because, yeah, Robbie managed to. Coaster probably got to the end of his tether with it a wee bit, and Robbie grabbed it, and he went bang first up, and then a very good run, and he's obviously sold it off the back of that. So you look forward to seeing that trotter in action again.
We got a few blokes. Dennis Bice, good mate of mine, Yorkshire Standardbreds is on. Always got to give him a plug. He was going to come over this year and chickened out again, but that's okay. I'll give him a hard time about that. But Sean McNulty, and we talk All-Stars, a lot of the Kiwis would remember Shawnee from... well, I don't think he spent much time in New Zealand. He spent more time travelling everywhere, falling off into oceans and things along those lines. But he's a good man, Shawnee, and he's tuned in as well. So please, if you're tuning in, get involved and go from there. A couple of other things we do want to highlight. There is one thing I can't do that I could do before we could bring the fields up. I have to change something, Matty. I did do it on a different computer, and we had a few little issues to start off with. But Rory McQuillick getting a treble at Winton on the weekend. Great bloke, Rory. I met him Grand Prix Day, not Grand Prix Day, Show Day last year. He got a winner on Show Day. He's a very passionate man, and I don't think it matters to him where he wins them. He's just a very happy man about where he wins them.
There's a saying over here in New Zealand racing that there's only one Opie Bossum. Well, I can tell you there's only one Rory McIlrick as well. Beautiful man, Roars. Great man. If you ever get the chance to sit down and have a conversation with him, you're going to walk away, your sides are going to be sore because he'll have you in fits. You'll find him on TikTok. He does a bit of stuff on TikTok. He was doing window washing of cars there for a while, and the best way to wash your car window. And I think he's doing a little bit more around horse health and that now, so it's quite entertaining. But he's a real character, Rory, and very, very good driver as well. He loves getting out there on the track, and he loves getting around the stables after a race too, and having a bit of a laugh and a bit of a biff with all the boys and the girls. And yeah, always good to see him get success, because he's going to come back with a big smile on his face.
You couldn't see his smile. I went to track work when I went down there last year, and he has a towel. He wraps his towel right around his whole face, and I didn't think it was too bad. I'd hate to see him in wintertime, but yeah, the interview I did with him last year, he was the part that blew me away was, and a few people that watched it, how open and passionate he is, and open about his own journeys and where he's been, and and he's a really good story. I think it's great for him. Any other highlights? We do have one other. Well, actually, we might as well showcase that, because it has been spoken about, and well done to Johnny Turner for his coverage of it. We're talking about the horse Out the Back. Dreams Are Free, I think, is the name of the horse, galloping for Nathan Williamson. Unbelievable race, this one, Matty. This horse, to think that this horse wins is mind-boggling. Not because of this, it's basically in another lap's time.
Yeah, he's almost exactly as far behind them as what he is here. Interesting reading comments from Nathan post-race that he sort of just let him coast along. He didn't really want to chase him too hard, and you look at where he is here and then where he is in a lap's time, and you would think there's no way this horse could win. There's a few factors that need to be taken into account, because they could have just walked around and sprinted home and then it looks easy. Well, they've gone a 157 mile rate. They've gone 255.3 for the 2,400 metres. That's good time, at Winton on a Sunday. That's very good time. And Winton is a very, very hard track to come from behind onto. Yep. It's a very short straight, and if you're not on the speed, it can be quite hard unless you've got a whole heap of momentum up, which we'll see shortly this horse does. It can be hard to make ground on those front runners, and he's beating some nice horses here. But you take a look at his breeding.
Flicked there to the back straight, and you can see that. And they went down the back in 28 too, so don't kid yourself that he's just minding his own business. I mean, he would have been scampering along there as well.
Yeah, he's making up ground, and then you'll see how wide he comes around that last bend, and so he's covering even more ground than normal. Like, even here, you're still going, no, this horse couldn't win. Nathan looks like he's just sort of nursing him along, but you see here, he just let him have a little bit of head,
yep.
And he grabbed the bit and he just went, and you're sort of going here, surely not. Then most of them are all flat to the inside of him, and he's still jogging. You can see Nathan swinging on him there, so big effort. Really, really hard to do in this day and age with the times they run, and it deserves every little bit of coverage that it's got.
Yep.
But then you look at the horse's breeding, and probably shouldn't be surprised. He is a half brother to a pretty nice horse who won during Cup Week called Don't Stop Dreaming. Yep. So there's a little bit of in favour for him there. Of course, part of Brian West's stud and bloodstock business and part of his breeding success, I guess. He's going to go on and do a very, very good job. The 2-year-old colt by Captain Treacherous.
Brian West had a pretty fair carnival, actually. I think he would have had probably 5, 6 individual winners, maybe more. So, yeah, he would have been pretty happy with that. But no, it's good to see, and it is good to see these horses down south that a lot of people are going to sit up and take notice of as well, because I think it's I don't know, it's exciting. He's going to come up for they're talking about the Grand Prix week. He's going to come up for that, so he's going to add that X factor. Is he going to behave himself? How's he going to race in a field? There's all those other things. But if he runs up to that, he's up there with Chase a Dream. That run on Chase a Dream as well. Like that's the sort of runs that you're looking at.
Well, he won't have to race Chase a Dream, which is a good result because I understand he's gone to the paddock, so he'll actually miss what's his one called, the Ace of Spades, I think it is, for the boys, the 2-year-old boys, and actually Vessam's gone to the paddock as well. So the top 3 horses in that category, Chase a Dream, Vessam, and Cold Chisel are all headed to the paddock and won't be at Grand Prix Day at this stage. So there's an opportunity for a horse like him. He's got to take on Major Hot, We Walk by Faith and Co. But he gets a chance based on that, and if you can run times doing it that way, then you're going to be competitive, no matter where in the country you race and who you race against.
Yep, absolutely. Any other highlights from Winton?
No, I think Rory grabbing the 3 and that one, which I think we'll talk about for a long time. It was one of the better modern day performances we've seen on a Sunday afternoon for a long time.
Absolutely. Thursday, I will go back to Thursday because we did do the show, but we did the show early. It ended up, there was a couple of cracking runs there, both by 2-year-olds. A 2-year-old pacer having its first start called Mighty Flying Lou. Son of Sweet Lou, beautifully bred. Fleet's Pocket, I think she's had 18 foals, 16 winners, or something along those. Mighty Flying Art, a horse over here who's still going terrific and the likes. But what a win that was.
Oh, she's been a remarkable broodmare, Fleet's Pocket. Lex Williams from down Otago, Southland Way, obviously has been breeding from her and his late wife Heather, and she's left some very, very good horses. Mighty Flying Mac was another one. He lined up in the New Zealand Cup. He was a really nice horse. Mighty Flying Rocker was one Bob Butthead. It actually could trot as well. But I think I sat down one day and started to try and count the winners from Fleet's Pocket by going through all the family lines from the fillies that had come from her. And it's somewhere ridiculous. It's very hard to try and figure it out because some of those American winners can be hard to find sometimes. And she's had some yet over there, but I think it was over 150, maybe closer to 200 winners just from her descendants alone. And this one being, I think what did we say, the 18th foal to hit the ground?
Yep.
Comes out and wins on debut. Probably shouldn't have been surprised. It's by Sweet Lou, who just can't do anything wrong at the moment. In terms of being a stallion. B, it's trained by Lawrence Anderson, and C, it's driven by Ricky May. Well, Lawrence and Ricky have been one of the most potent combinations in harness racing in Canterbury for many, many years, and the only real surprise probably was the $13 price tag for a first starter for those two. But yeah, he goes to Timaru on Saturday this weekend. They've got a nice race down there, the Nursery Stakes.
Yep.
So it'll be a step up for him because he's got to take on some nice 2-year-olds, but everything from that win the other day suggested that he's going to go on and do a good job.
Yeah, and it was a good race too, good quality race. I was standing there looking at them going out, and I actually had an Aussie with me, and we were just amazed at the physique and some of those horses. The 2 Graham Court horses looked like 4-year-olds, not even 3-year-olds. I think the turnout of horses were terrific, and they went accordingly. But go back and watch the replay of Mighty Flying Lou. I apologise, I haven't got it because it was super exciting to see. And then the very next race, Ricky must have said this is the best part of the track. He must have decided, well, we'll just go wide and we won't worry about the rest. But that's not the truth in any way. Empire City did a good job because it got checked early. Got a little bit of interference as they let them go. Well, I don't think it was anyone's issue. Settled last and just joined in like it only just joined in basically like around the home turn. It was a ridiculous win.
Yeah, you talked about Ricky turning back the clock in the New Zealand Cup. Well, he turned it back to vintage Ricky May of the late 90s, early 2000s there for half an hour at Ashburton with these very patient Ricky May-esque drives where you let them go up in front and then you look to get home over the top of them and time your run to perfection. And I know there's always been a really, really high opinion of this filly from the Williamson camp. She won first up at Addington very impressively. A couple of wee niggles since, but that was her at her absolute best there. And yeah, she will end up going on and doing a very, very good job, I think, as time goes on. And so will some of the ones that are behind it. Judy J's been a bit of a find for the Tomlinson Ford team.
I was about
very well bred.
Yeah, I was going to highlight that horse because it was only having its second start, and even when the other horse, Empire City, got past it, it had the cheek to still come back again. Like, it wasn't done with once that horse came past it. So it was very, very impressive win, I thought. In second, sorry, not win, second.
Yeah, half brother to Markula. Half sister to Markula. So there's a bit of breeding on her side, and just a continuation of this family line that the Fords and the Tomlinsons have created in the Trotting Gate. They've got another good one, half brother to her, called What's Wanted, who raced during Cup Week and won at Kaikoura a couple of weeks ago. So nice to see they've got another nice young juvenile trotter on their hands.
Their trotters actually went quite good over the actual carnival, albeit they didn't get the win, and Cherie was probably in that same boat with her drives. She was thereabouts quite often, but unfortunately didn't get it across the line first, which is the unfortunate part of our industry, where you get measured by your wins. But I think they would have overall had a pretty good carnival when they stop and think about it.
Yeah, absolutely. And, there are a lot of stables that are probably in the same boat that didn't have a winner during the week, but will be very proud of the way that their horses went and the way that their horses run. And, if you're looking at having a bet anywhere in New Zealand over the coming, month to 6 weeks, as we get in to what's one of the busiest times of the year, I think we've got 8 race meetings in New Zealand this week, or something close to that. Those horses that are running the thirds and fourths in those lower grade races on Cup Week, even fifths and sixths, are going to go out and win first time up at places like Banks Peninsula, Methven, Geraldine, Timaru, Rangiora, you name it. So, always good form following coming out of Cup Week, because you can find some at a nice price.
Yeah, dropping back, some type dropping back. But like you said, now I've gone to Timaru, and it is the Bronson's Transport Timaru Nursery Stakes, a $20,000 race for the 2-year-olds. There's no easy races in New Zealand anymore, is there?
No, you can't hide anywhere. You used to be able to sneak down to Forbury Park every Thursday night, and then even by the time that they shut that place down, they were going that quick there that you couldn't really hide there either. But I thought this was a fantastic card at Timaru, because it's not only the Nursery Stakes. The Timaru Cup is a cracking race. You've got Dalton Shard, Leicester, who runs second in the Age Series race at Kaikoura, Heisenberg, Dashing Major, Life of Art, Don Murrow, Wheels of Fortune, Ultra Meteor, and Franco Marek, who's a horse that many Australians may not have ever laid eyes on. But I can tell you, Paul, he is a very, very serious racehorse.
Having his first start back from the spell?
He ran in the Cup trial behind BD Joe and beat Beach Ball home, coming from off his back at the top of the straight.
That's fair form.
He is a very, very, very raw, talented pacer. He's a 5-year-old now. He's had 2 trials, obviously at Rangiora and then also at Addington. He had a run at Methven on the grass in between those 2 times, and he was a very impressive winner there. So I would expect he will be primed and ready to go come Saturday afternoon. I can't wait for that race. That is a great sign of what we're about to hook into over here in terms of these country cups as we run through summer, because if that's the going to be the standard, there's going to be some fantastic racing ahead.
Timaru, a little bit about the track, just if there's any Aussies watching. What sort of track is it?
Well, the most obvious thing about Timaru is it's Farlap Raceway, being the home of the great and mighty Farlap. There is a beautiful statue of
the greatest Australian horse race.
Yeah, it's an all-weather track, very fair, quite a bit of a tight bend just past the winning post the first time when they've started up the top of the straight, because there's a bit of a rush there and it can quite often unbalance the odd trotter or two. But always a good day out at Timaru. They get great community support. They've got a great committee and club there. So looking forward to getting down there on Saturday and taking in what from start to finish is a very good card of racing. Anyone
wondering, I was being a bit cheeky then when I said the great Australian horse, because Cambrai, it's an easy way of going fishing. I can always get a result when I mention Farlap as being an Australian. I see Elizabeth Hill is in actually, so they'll be hoping for a little bit more luck than they were afforded on Cup Day, but it does return for for Cambrai and connections at Stonewall. Any little tips you got in that meeting at all, Matty, or you haven't had a good look at him just yet?
Oh, I think you can back Franco Merritt. I think he
Wow.
is a very serious horse, and he'll go very close first up. I've got no doubt about that because he will be very ready. Just a good card. Yeah, there'll be plenty of winners in there. Elizabeth Hill will be very hard to beat. Obviously, she was well spec going into Cup Day. That should be a race that she'll go very close in. Bet and Win, if he behaves, he'd be a chance in that race too, the 3-year-old. But big, as I said, big weekend of racing. We've got Manawatu on this afternoon. There's a Rangiora harness meeting tomorrow. Then we've got Invercargill and Manawatu on Thursday, Auckland Friday, Timaru Saturday, and then the fields aren't even out for what will be another massive day out on the grass track at Motukarara on Sunday. So you go from the high pressure cooker a cup week, and it doesn't really get any easier. 6
races this weekend. That's unusual. That's good.
7 from today, because there's a second day of Manawatu to come in on Thursday as well. So
I was going to say
they race both today and Thursday. Yeah, so yeah, plenty of racing to sink the teeth into. That's for sure.
No, absolutely. Just a couple of little things before we do sign off on one. Of course, don't forget the Katie Cox appeal. It is still going, and she still needs as much money that can be raised. And well done to everyone who has been getting behind that. And both of those are there to get in touch. If you're an Australian, the code is on the bottom there, and of course the Kiwis, whatever with Wiggy, and go from there. You'll be able to get involved with that. There's been some positive feedback, I suppose. It's not diagnosed good news, but Katie is feeling a little bit better with the medication, so hopefully that's a good sign that things are going. And then the other thing too is also with the junior drivers, been Sarah O'Reilly, Crystal Hackett and Zeph Meredith being announced, and they'll be all heading to Queensland for a little bit warmer weather than what you guys will be experiencing there in New Zealand, mate.
It's 24 degrees in Methven today, Paul, which is, I'm about to go out and mow the lawn, so I'll probably be sweating. I'll probably have to go for a swim or something afterwards. That's quite hot for us, but good to see those juniors heading over. Sarah's obviously a previous Australasian Young Drivers Championship winner. I think she won it.
She's a reigning one. I think she's a reigning one, isn't she? No, Taylor French. No, sorry.
No. Yeah, Taylor French is. Yep. I actually think 2019 she might have beat quite a wee handy driver from New South Wales called Cam Hart. Yeah, I think he might have won 2 races at Methven. And I remember because his dad and mum were over and they enjoyed a night out at the Brown Pub in Methven afterwards to celebrate. So they'll go over there and they'll do New Zealand proud, those 3. 3 really, really good young talents in the sulky. And it'll be a bit of a comeback for Sarah because obviously she's nearing the completion of her days as a junior driver over here. She jumps into the open ranks from next season, I believe. So she'll be looking to sign off in style.
I thought I saw her down because I think it's... Oh, no, she's still got the J next to her name. I was going to say, I think it's next month. I don't think it's the end of the... Yeah, I think it's December.
It'll be the 1st of January when the new technical... Yeah, when everything changes. I think.
So it changed things.
Don't quote me on that. Yeah. Mate, I believe that's when your licence will kick over.
We're live. We're the #1 live show in New Zealand, so don't you worry about that. Online, hang on, I better get that right or I'll get in trouble from everyone else. Online, live, Facebook, interactive show in New Zealand. So some people get a bit prickly when I say things like that and don't quite get everything right. The other one too, we will be leading up, and I said there before, and Johnny Turner is actually watching. He came on just there before, but we will be doing some previews of Grand Prix week and that racing going forward, Matty, and we'll try and highlight that. Good to see already there's a bit of Australian interest with Not As Promised coming across. Of course, the Victorian Trotting Derby winner, uniquely bred horse by betting line out of an Albert mare, hence the name Not As He Was Promised. But it's exciting to see, but it's also great that we're going to be able to see a bit more of this because he's going to get that direct flight from Melbourne straight through to Christchurch.
Yeah, it's exciting to see. I'll admit that I had to go back and have a look at some of his replays. Very impressive trotter. And he comes across to what is a very good crop of 3-year-old trotters here. So exciting to have that Australian flavour in the New Zealand Derby. I was trying to think just before we went live on who the last Australian trotter to come over and have a crack at the Derby might have been.
And what did you come up with?
Well, my memory bank stretched back to Blitz and Calder, but I think there might have been one since then. I don't know. I automatically thought of him. He comes straight to mind, but I'm sure there's been one since then, and someone will be able to tell us.
Maybe Brett Lilly or someone like that might have snuck one back, actually. So
yeah, I'd have to go back through some of those race records and have a look. But yeah, it just adds another aspect to it because it's a bit of an unknown coming into it for the Kiwis. Obviously, they've all seen a lot of each other, but they haven't seen a lot of this horse in the flesh. So yeah, it'll be a nice wee addition to what's already going to be a massive day of racing.
Yeah, and Nathan Dawson, who is Australia's leading driver, and I am going to just pad out for a sec because I don't know exactly what he's on, but he'll be driving at any Queensland meeting, so it shouldn't take me 2 seconds to find his name. But there he is there, race 1, Graham Dawson. They've got a trotter in that's been around, actually. I don't know why that didn't up. Oh, no, because it's an hour behind. But his career stats, where are we at this year? So far this season, 374 wins. That's quite amazing. I imagine for you Kiwis to be able to get your head around. It's quite amazing for us Victorians because they only race. Well, they race every day in Queensland, but it's a smaller pool of horses and that. It's just amazing. But 374, we're still 2 months to go, or a month and a half, I suppose, to go. So hopefully he breaks that 400. But he's another credible Australian, and he is making the trip across. I did see the input that said that he was going to be going across there, which is great because it's a busy time of year. I think the Dominion's on in that, so he's got a bit going, but he's going to make the effort to get across there and drive it. So super exciting for harness racing in New Zealand, but harness racing both sides of the ditch. So yeah, really, really good.
Long may it continue.
Yep, absolutely. And this timeline, I wish everyone was racing on the same time because I'm thinking that race should have been over. Interesting enough, Darcy's Fireball, for the people that might want to bet on a name, and another horse that was trained by Jess and Greg Tubbs, that's now made its way up to Graham Dwyer, so they might be able to get that one going as well. He's won a couple up there, but I don't think he's in the same league as not as we promised as yet. Anyway, right, mate. That's about it. Thank you very much to yourself, Harness Racing New Zealand. It's good to see Emily must be working pretty hard because I haven't seen her chime in on anything. We might try and go live. We might set it up next week to be live at 12 o'clock. We just said we'd feel it out and see how it went this time, but we've had plenty of people tune in. So, and I'll be able to get the fields up as well. It's one of those things I didn't realise I couldn't do until we went live. But the rest of it we'll get up there and keep going. But thank you, mate. Thanks for your input, and thank you to everyone else that's got there in there. Actually, Emily has just chimed in. She was on call. She's here now. She rocks up just right at the end. I've been changing the hats up, Ems. Don't worry about that. But yeah, and the Harness Life one. So I think I came home with 15 hats.
I'm yet to see any merch from Emily. So I think I'm going to have to give her a phone call shortly and try and rectify that situation. But always a pleasure to be on with you, Paul. It's great to talk harness racing and try and pinpoint and celebrate some of the successes that may get not swept under the rug but kind of get left behind in the wash up of all the big racing a couple weeks. So look forward to doing it every week, and there's going to be plenty to talk about next week given we've got 7 race meetings to pick and choose from. So looking forward to it.
And I think that's one thing we want to highlight. We did highlight show day and we did cup day the week earlier in the week as well. You have to highlight those races, but yeah, when we can, especially like you said, next week there'll be some random ones coming in for sure, and go from there. Emily reckons she only gave me 3. I can tell you, Emily, you gave me 5, plus a water canter and something else. So yeah, I got more merch of HRNZ than HRNZ have got.
They've got a lot of merch because they're still trying to give stuff away from when I was there 10 years ago. So, yeah, I'm surprised you haven't got more.
Nah, all's good. Matty, thank you very much. Actually, one other quick one, very well. One overall, we said it before about Lex Williams. Great little win for him on Saturday night at Menangle, getting another win as well. So, and I did stir him up the other day when I suggested after the winner, just believe that the best trotter is still in the Southern Hemisphere with Muscle Mountain. So I might have to move back to New Zealand and go from there. She reckons she threw all your stuff out. I don't believe her one bit. Matty, thank you very much, mate.
No worries, mate. We'll talk next week.